Financial recessions are great because they shake things up. And they have certainly shaken things up for me, as my opinion on Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets has completely changed after this 50% correction on Bitcoin. And although I know many people will continue to disagree with me after this video, I do think it's extremely important to watch the entire video and understand my opinions overall and the different factors as to why I am no longer going to be trading Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies as much, as I think this is something that may take a lot of time to realize otherwise if you haven't been trading cryptocurrency and financial markets for a really long time. And so that's why I think that this video will hopefully bring value to you regardless of how much experience or your opinion on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency markets. I also want to preface this by saying that I absolutely love finance. I love trading. I love financial markets. This is something that I will never stop doing. This is my passion in life overall. And so although I may slow down on trading Bitcoin and cryptocurrency specifically for the reasons that I outlined in this video, that does not mean that I'm going to stop trading overall. And of course, that does not mean that I'm going to stop making content, as I have so many plans for the future. And hopefully I will share that to you in a separate video. But anyways, let's get right into talking about why this crash occurred, and not just because of the coronavirus. I will try to give more of an explanation as to why this crash happened. And this actually does relate to some of the reasons as to why I no longer like trading Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. So obviously everyone has heard about the coronavirus. This is the virus that is causing the economic recession across the entire world. And yes, this is a recession. People do not realize it yet. However, as the situation does get worse, obviously, there is a decrease in consumer spending, and the entire world goes round because of consumer spending. And with this decrease in consumer spending, even if it's just a couple dollars per person, that will cause an economic recession. So although people can say that coronavirus is fake, etc., as long as people are spending less money in the economy, there will be a further recession. So if we look at Bitcoin, you can say, well, I thought this was a store of value. Why did it go down? And this is due to the fact that although Bitcoin is considered a store of value similar to gold, both gold and Bitcoin did go down, as during these times of a financial recession, a lot of institutions and people in general like to be in the dollar. So although these are considered stores of value, they do in fact go down during financial recessions. However, obviously you will notice that there is a large difference between the move that happened on gold and the move that happened on Bitcoin. However, I will further talk about that in just a second. So what happened on Bitcoin to make it move so much farther down than gold or similar markets, even if it is an extreme situation being a global financial recession? So the reason why Bitcoin moved down so much further than any of these other assets is because of the nature of how Bitcoin is being traded. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of the reason why people trade Bitcoin is in order to make money. It's a very speculative asset. And that's why we've seen a lot of the volume shift in cryptocurrency markets over time from initially altcoins to now the futures trading platforms such as BitMEX. So initially people were trading the underlying asset of Bitcoin and altcoins. However, as these future trading platforms became increasingly more popular, people started taking more risk on Bitcoin by trading with leverage, and that has caused this massive shift of all these speculative traders to move over to these future trading platforms. And obviously there are repercussions for everyone trading on these futures trading platforms. What happened is, because everyone shifted over to these futures trading platforms, most of the volume on Bitcoin that's very evidently seen, you can look this up right now, is on the actual futures itself and not on the underlying asset. If you look at the volume on, let's say, Coinbase or Bitfinex, two of the largest exchanges trading the underlying asset of Bitcoin, the volume on there is much lower than the volume on BitMEX. So what happened with this move, the reason why Bitcoin crashed 50%, is because when these institutions that were previously invested in Bitcoin started to sell during this recession, so it's very obvious, it's very clear as to why they started to sell, because these institutions, they were invested in Bitcoin initially because they thought this could be a, upcoming investment in the future. However, whenever there's a recession, a lot of these institutions, they like to close their positions. They like to be in cash once again. That's why gold went down. That's why Bitcoin went down a little bit, right? So these institutions, they started to sell due to the looming concerns of a financial recession. However, because there is no volume on the actual underlying asset of Bitcoin, when these institutions started to sell larger amounts of Bitcoin on the market, this then triggered the price to move down faster and faster than maybe people initially expected, because no one realizes that everyone's trading on Bitcoin and no one's trading on the actual real exchanges trading the underlying Bitcoin asset. And so then this triggered the price to move downwards as these institutions and individuals were selling. And then that eventually triggered the long squeeze as everyone's trading these super leveraged positions on Bitcoin. I think the average is something like 20x leverage on Bitcoin. So once again, many people maybe not making the best decisions. However, the price started to move down. People started to get liquidated. That's why BitMEX was completely laggy. You couldn't even trade on the platform at all. And that's also why so many people got liquidated, as their engine was actually overwhelmed with all of the liquidations that it had to make, as the price was absolutely collapsing due to people selling on the spot exchanges, as well as getting liquidated on the future platforms. So as I mentioned earlier, the couple reasons that I'm no longer trading this market is because I think one of the most important foundations for a successful financial market in order to profit from it in manual trading or any trading at all has to be some level of stability. And that stability comes from volume on the underlying asset. If you look at stock trading, you will see that there is actual volume on the stocks itself. And if you look in forex, there's actual volume on the currency themselves. And then there is also volume on top of that on the futures platforms. But in basically any other financial market, maybe I am mistaken in this, but in most other financial markets, you will see that the volume on the actual underlying asset itself is higher than the futures trading platform, or if not, at least comparable. So it's at least maybe 50 or 25%. However, on Bitcoin, when an asset like this becomes so dominated by not actually trading the underlying asset itself, it becomes super vulnerable to manipulation and to different events like this, as so many people are trading such high risk positions on these future platforms. So in other words, I think that this cryptocurrency market, Bitcoin in general, has just slowly deteriorated over time. And I think this was really the tipping point that was just waiting to happen. I know obviously I didn't see this before it happened. I didn't predict this. That's not what I'm saying. But really this move has caused me to realize that I no longer really want to trade Bitcoin and cryptocurrency markets, just because of how these markets are currently traded and the reason why people are trading them overall on these futures platforms with so much risk is just not going to be good for this market in general. And so that's why I've decided to stop trading Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as much moving into the future. And, obviously, although I do think it's not that desirable to trade on the short term to midterm at all, in fact, obviously, I do have long-term Bitcoin holdings. I think that the fundamental reason for Bitcoin being popular, for Bitcoin being successful, is not gone. Obviously, cryptocurrencies can still be the future. But I think you really have to think about it, as most people are trading Bitcoin for speculative profits. Is Bitcoin really a market that you want to continue to trade? I'm sure a lot of people watching this lost money on this move, whether it be their position getting liquidated, whether it be they're just holding Bitcoin on a hard wallet or something and losing a bunch of money. If you're trading Bitcoin short term, I think you need to reassess why you're trading Bitcoin short term, and possibly if other markets are maybe more desirable, whether it be stock market, forex, or really any other market. because I think it's very important to reassess why you're trading something, especially during these times that really test the markets, right? Because we would have never seen this move had the economy not started to collapse outside of cryptocurrencies. And so that's why I think this is such an interesting topic, and frankly, something that is really important that I made this decision now rather than later, as you know, this is something that takes a lot of time to realize. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about my opinion, my choice to not trade Bitcoin as often as I used to, no longer really day trading Bitcoin at all, at least in these current market situations. I will make an update video on what I plan on doing in the future, different projects that I plan on pursuing, and of course, more educational trading content on a different channel that is starting maybe tomorrow. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching this video, and see you in the next one.